What's up, everybody? Doug Lane, Fast Lane Car Care here. We've got this gorgeous Chevy Cruze. It's a 2012 late build, might be a 13 titled, I don't know. These are actually one of my favorite cars to tint. Don't know why, but they are. So I haven't done a how-to type video for a little while, a couple days, I don't know, whatever it's been. We've been pretty busy with tax season starting and all that good stuff, and just nicer weather. This is getting 20% carbon. That would be Helios Nova. We're gonna put on this. We had some back and forth on what exactly he wanted to do, but that's what we decided on. So we're gonna do the strip, obviously, and yeah, let's get to it. We've got broken visor shade we want to make note of. These are pretty easy cars to do. I'm gonna go ahead and find the seat. Maybe. There we go. We'll just slide it up a little bit. Oh shoot, could have done that. And I'm doing that to create myself some space in the back window area. Is that how that works? Okay. Maybe not, I don't know. Ah, there we go. So let's grab ourselves a dryer sheet and our keg. Some people ask, what slip I use, all that good stuff. I use Dawn. Actually, I don't even use Dawn. It is Members Mark, so Sam's Club knockoff version Dawn dish soap. I find that it actually slips not quite as much as Dawn. You do need to use a little bit more, but it has less degreasers in it, which means that it will not mess with your door panels as much. You're not gonna get as much clean streaks. It still will happen if you leave it sit, but that can be said with just about any slip agent. I used Fusion All Type for a while. Nothing necessarily wrong with it. The only thing I didn't like, and it would be less of an issue now. What I didn't like about the Fusion All Type, I bought it when I bought my keg. So, with a keg, you're mixing up, minimum a gallon. That's a 3-gallon keg. I usually run 2 gallons in it. And what would happen is, let's say during the winter, you might only be doing 1-2 cars a day. And those cars, they may not be full cars. You may just be doing the front 2 in a strip, front 2 in a full windshield, something like that. Because, a lot of cars have factory tint and stuff. So the problem with the All Type, it breaks down really fast. And so let's say you mix up 2 gallons, and that would normally last me during the winter time significantly longer, but let's say it just on average 3 days. So you mix it up, you tint, you're getting your cars done, everything. It's slipping great, smells great, it's easy on the hands. That's something I really enjoy over dish soap. It's easy on the hands, but the problem is, day 1, fantastic. Day 2, you come in, you shake up your keg, shake it up real good, get that stuff stirred up and all that, but it doesn't quite slip as well. it just does not quite slip as well. So then you got two choices. You can either add more slip, or you can just deal with it. You know, just use a little bit more water on the car or whatever. And you know, that's an option. You can do that. There's no really wrong way. But then day 3, you're gonna come back in, shake up your keg, and it's just not gonna slip. What you'll have happen, or at least what I had happen, and I used the entire bottle. I tried a bunch of different slip ratios. I ended up putting way more slip in it than I would with dish soap, which it makes it really not cost effective. If you're using twice as much product, even though it's a dedicated slip agent, you know, you're losing money. And which a lot of people say, oh well, it's just, you know, it's just a couple bucks for, you know, for the product. Well, you know, that adds up. Those ounces add up to gallons pretty quick. So day 3, what I had happen, and it wasn't even necessarily day 3, like sometimes it would happen on day 2, just depends. So what would happen is, you know, you go to lay your film, you're spraying your window down, you go to lay your film, and you're trying to shift, you know, you're trying to fine tune it, it would slip, tack, and like you'd hit, it was almost like you're hitting a dry spot, but it's not dry when you have a keg and you're just blasting the whole window. Like there's no dry spot. When your film is drenched and your glass is drenched, there's no dry spot there. But it would just like tack up on you real quick. Like when you're trying to shift it, and it just not good. So I used the entire bottle. I talked to some people, learned some things, and basically it just came down to it just wasn't gonna work for me. If you're a high volume shop and you're doing multiple cars every day, then I'm sure it's not as big of a deal. But for me, it was. Excuse me. And so I went back to Dawn. Long story short, if you've been watching the videos, you'll probably notice a couple of changes. One, I got a new heat gun. Oh man, that sucks. I made a video on how to use the Fusion tape. It's Fusion Afterburn tape. Made a video on how to use it, and turns out my GoPro is in camera mode. So we got a 100-foot extension cord now. I really probably should have just bought a retractable reel. It would look nicer. I actually didn't mean to buy a 100-foot cord. I was just like, oh yeah, I need a new cord. Oh, it's green, cool. And that's what we got. And then I got it out of the package. I was like, oh, you know what? This ain't super long. Whatever. So I'm gonna cut the trash off of here, the excess. It's gonna be a lot easier to deal with this way. We'll do the same thing over here. We were running early, and then this gentleman did not know. He couldn't decide on what he wanted, which, not a big deal. It's a nice day outside. We stood out and BS'd a little bit. He was looking at my 4Runner and showed him some pictures of some things and stuff like that. And ultimately, he decided to play it safe. Go with the 20% over the 5%, and I don't blame him. I don't blame him one bit. So we're actually running just a couple minutes behind, but not a big deal. This is technically the last appointment of the day, unless something changes, you know. I got a couple people, like one guy, he just wants a windshield strip, or his mom wants a windshield strip or something. You know, that's something I could easily knock out today if they want to do that. So for the heat gun, I'm using just a regular basic old Wagner. I don't buy the more expensive versions. I buy the cheapest one that they have. There's something like maybe 30 bucks, somewhere around in there. I don't want to sound arrogant, but I don't even look at the price. I just buy it. They're cheap, they work. Are there heat guns that work better? Sure. But I used to have a Porter cable, one of the ones, you know, I thought it was cool because it had the little temperature adjust and all that stuff. Once you learn how to shrink, you're gonna be running your heat gun at full heat. You're really not gonna be messing around with the temperature controls or any of that. If you want less heat, you'll hold the heat gun further away. If you want more heat, you'll get it closer. So, I mean, that's how I do it. That's how pretty much everybody does it. Like, you know, if I really want some heat, I'll just get real close. You know, you want to change it, you change the angle, you can change where the heat goes. All that good stuff. See how this finger here is like going up here in this way? I just kind of want to move it, make it go straight. These are really simple cars, so you can get away with a lot on these, but it's not good to get in the habit of getting away with things. Also, something I'm gonna point out is, if you'll notice, I do my H pattern differently than a lot of people. I don't wet mine down. I just let all this film float on the glass. So a lot of people will spray, you know, they'll spray their felt card, or they'll spray a tack cloth or whatever, and then they'll lock down these edges. I just find that you can work yourself into some trouble with that method if you're doing the right windshield and you go about it the wrong way. You can work yourself into this corner where it's locked down, and then you end up creasing because you're trying to shrink too much film. I do exactly what I just did here. I just kind of let it float, let that finger float and go away, essentially. So the whole purpose of buying the new cord was so that cord can just be dedicated to that flashlight. You know, losing a little bit of time having to plug it in, like plug this in, unplug that, plug that in. It's just got its own cord now. It stays ready, you know what I'm saying? So. Now what I'll kind of do is, like right here, I don't want a bunch of heat on this edge because I don't want to try to shrink that way. So I'll just kind of use my hard card and kind of block it off. So then it has to go up. It has to shrink the way I want it to shrink. I really enjoy working with the Helios film. I really like all their products. As far, you know, their lines, the ceramic, carbon dyed, it's all really good stuff. So as you can see, this is carbon, and it still shrinks really well. It's a little bit slower, but I'm also not trying to be super aggressive with the heat. I know I can shrink this faster, but like I said earlier, like this is the last thing I really have to, I should say the last car. This is the last car I have to do today, so there's no point in getting in a big rush. There's still time, you know what I mean? I have some other errands and stuff that I need to do, but there's no point in rushing and creasing it and then have to start all over. All right, this is the point where you could lift your film, you could lift your edges and wet check them like that side over there. Like, see how this side's wanting to curl up off the glass, and you see we've got this like curve right here. That's just where it has a lot of tension, and the film's trying to pull it this way. Basically what we did, we over shrank it a little bit right here. I know for a fact, you know, we can lay it down and it sticks for a minute. No need to wet check that, it's gonna stay. Same with this bottom corner, it's got a little bit of tension in it. I don't mind having a little bit of extra tension right there because that's just gonna help ensure that it's actually gonna stick. If you don't have enough tension in the film, when you go to lay this on the inside of the glass, what you'll end up with is little fingers down here at the bottom, or, you know, potentially in the corners or whatever. So having a little bit of over shrink is not a bad thing. Now, if you have too much over shrinkage, then you'll have the corners trying to peel up off the glass. It can be a big pain, but here's why I like the Chevy Cruze so much. I hope you guys can see this on camera. I'll try to get you a good angle. We've got a huge border across the top. We've got a really nice size border across the bottom, or the sides, and the trim panels are almost never touching the glass on these, which makes it really, really easy for you to, you know, to cut out. I mean, you can just cut them. Excuse me. They're pretty forgiving, so you don't have to sit and just intricately, you know, some cars you've got to be cutting like right here, you know what I mean, just right on that line, because you don't have any extra room either way. These are not like that. I'm gonna sit here and talk about how easy it is and watch me screw something up. This would be, in my opinion, probably one of the best cars to learn how to tint on, because you're gonna run into this situation here with your quarter windows, which we're gonna have to clean this one up a little bit, or a lot of it. That's kind of unfortunate, but you have this ceramic border all the way around, so really you just need a straight edge on here, tuck it just a little bit below your trim out here, easy peasy. So let's get started cutting. Now again, since we've got a pretty good border, we can go kind of fast here. It doesn't have to be perfectly straight. I like to try to make them pretty consistent, but look at that, we almost got in trouble. Almost got in trouble. But that's cool, you know what I mean? We'll get it, no big deal. We have plenty of room at the bottom, so we can, you know, we can pretty much leave as much as we want down here. Third brake light, some people will cut these out. I really don't like cutting out third brake lights. I just don't like the way it looks. And it's also another thing you have to line up. But the biggest thing I don't like about it is when you cut the third brake light out, it seems to make the film much more flimsy, so it just makes it more difficult to like slide it and wrestle it into place. So, I mean, I've done it before, don't get me wrong, I've had to do it before. There's a couple cars where they're just too tight, and I know some guys are taking out the deck lids and all that stuff. I don't do that. I need to learn how to do, like most of them, you know, just how they generally, for the most part, come apart. For that rare instance where you just really have to. But The main instance that I had to cut a third brake light out, it was on an old, like 90s model Malibu. I think it was Malibu or Impala. I don't know, whichever one it was. It's a 90s model, you know what I'm saying? So it's not worth the hassle and the risk of pulling that deck lid out, breaking the tabs, because they're plastic, you know they're gonna be brittle, being freaking 30 years old. So yeah, just hard pass on that. Get my OSHA approved step stool here. Again, you know, we've got a pretty good sized border across the top, so we can really kind of let it hang here. Just kind of zoom across the top here, connect our dots. Done. Go over here to the other side. Now, some people say that every time you make a cut, you need to get a new blade. I would say if you're just learning how to tint, I would say that is a great rule to live by. However, if you have the feel down, you know how hard to push, you know what I mean? So you're only cutting through the film, you're not cutting into the glass, then you really don't need to do that. Check this out though, so now I got the whole windshield done. I could go ahead and snap my blade. I'm sure you can't see it, it's not even damaged. So what I'll do is I will cut the film off the roll for my next patterns, then I'll snap the blade before I start cutting out the other windows. So, see how we have all that tension right there? Because we cut out all this that was holding it down. Look, there's our wet check right there. So now we can take our felt wrapped Bondo card, push that out. Okay, we know that we didn't miss any fingers. We've got the film distributed now how we want to. We know it's good. So, just for the sake of simplicity in the video, I'm gonna go ahead and do this back window. Normally what I do is I cut everything out first. It's just easier to get everything cut, then get everything, you know, stuck, and then bada bing, bada boom. But if I do that, that kind of makes it a pain to edit. Oh, I already got steel wool in there, don't I? See what I'm saying? It's distracting. Let's see here. I'm not using a ton of water here. Pretty much just enough. I'm gonna scrub this back window really well, especially since it's an older car. You could use glass cleaner for this process too. That will work actually a little bit better because you're gonna have some, you know, some chemical cleaning going on. But a lot of people don't like steel wool because you can get these little steel wool fibers in your film. I never have that issue. And if you've watched any of my other back glass windows, you'll see why. It's because I kind of prep a little bit differently than some people. So, I'm gonna scrub this down real good, make sure we got everything. Especially across the bottom, because that's where it's gonna be more difficult to get to. And of course across the top dot matrix. Now what we wanna do is take our bulldozer, just kind of stick that steel wool on there like that. Shove it down in there and get behind that brake light. You could definitely see that it was nasty on the outside, so go ahead and get that. Also, I think another reason why I don't have any issues with the steel wool is because I don't use like just loose steel wool from a bag. I use these pads that have soap in them. and I'd use them for a handful of cars or whatever. Once all the soap's gone, I just get rid of them. They're like $3 for a box of like, I don't know, 10 or something like that. Super cheap when you figure, you know, what it's actually doing for you. It's cleaning the window. And then when I do this, I'm gonna get any of those steel wool particles. If they're left behind, which they usually, if they're leaving behind steel wool particles, you've used them way too long, in my experience, on those little scrubby pads. But look at all that junk. You know what I mean? That was a clean towel. And we just pulled all that junk off there, off the defrosters and stuff. I'm gonna take my towel, fold it up like, let's fold it like this. I'm gonna shove it down behind here. And just, you know, wipe that edge off. Okay. And that's not the last step. So now, I'm gonna come back here. Now we'll use a little bit more water. I'm gonna shove it, you know what I mean? Shove it down through there. Just so anything that might have flung up here is now gonna be, you know, stuck with water, and we can squeegee it off. Wipe my squeegee off between every pass, because you can get dust and stuff on it that you're sweeping across here like this. Now, I'm not gonna sit here and lie and tell you guys, oh, I never, ever get contamination in my back windows. No, man, it happens. And anybody that tells you that it never happens, they're either new and they don't know what they're looking at, or they're just a liar. I mean, you can get some of them to come out perfect. I mean absolutely perfect, no dust, no nothing, but it's really more luck than anything. Anybody that tells you differently is lying. You could sit here and prep and scrub and clean and all this stuff, but there's still gonna be dust in the air. Look, if you know anybody that works in a body shop or that paints, you know, that works in a booth, paint booth, they will tell you, ask them, they'll tell you, they still get dirt in the paint, and they have filters on their guns. The paint booth has its own filters. It filters its own air. They typically have draft control, which means the air comes in one area, it's filtered, and then exhausted out of another area. It's usually filtered too, depending on the style booth. But the point being, you've got all these filters, you've got all these precautions, and yet they still get dirt in the paint and have to sand it out. Nib it out is what they call it. How do I know? Because I've got a handful of family members that actually work in body shops and have for a long, long time, and I've helped out a little bit. And so that was really what kind of changed my perception of perfection on window tint. I figure if these guys in a filtered, climate controlled, everything's controlled environment are still getting little bits of dust, dirt, whatever, in their paint, then how in the world are we supposed to expect to have zero dust in our tint when we don't work in a vacuum? And don't get me wrong, you can get very close. You can do a phenomenal job. And every little bit helps. But a couple specks of dust never hurt anybody. Your biggest thing is going to be controlling what your film touches. So you don't want to touch anything but the glass. You don't want to touch that trim panel there. You don't want to touch your headliner. I don't want to dip my chin and make my chin touch my beard. I don't want my beard touching the film. Nothing like that. So what I'm doing is I'm leaving this side off the glass, and then I'm just kind of fixing this where I want it to go. And now, you see here, I didn't touch the film on anything. Now I can just slide this back over where I want it. Check all my gaps. Everything is good and covered. Right, so at this point, we're good to start squeegeeing. I'm gonna bump it down just a touch, just because I know I can, and I want to make doubly sure that whatever's behind the brake light is covered, because that'll look real trashy if the brake light comes on and there's a light gap, especially when I have plenty of border. I can tuck it down in there, no big deal. Now, as far as distribution goes, film distribution, that's a tough one. I see it done a lot of different ways, and you're ultimately gonna have to figure out what's gonna work for you. So on a window like this, you can pretty much do whatever you want. You can do the cross, and you can go up, or you can do more of a side-to-side deal. See, like that, we can push everything to the side. Certain windows I've found will prefer a certain method. You may be able to do it one way and have some issues. You may get some fingers that pop up, and a lot of that's going to be your shrinking process, but it's also a decent amount of it has to do with your distribution. So I like to just kind of push everything out, starting from the middle, and just kind of work out a little bit, and then I like to split it into quarters. For the most part, that works on most windows. Some windows, I won't split it in quarters. I will basically start in a circle and work my way out, and then, basically just make a big circle. I mean, I know your window is basically a rectangle, but that's what the whole plan is. So now I'm doing a hard pass. I'm actually putting quite a bit of pressure on this film, trying to get as much water down and out of these defrost lines as possible. How you can see, we've got this whole area at the bottom that needs to be taken care of. Enter the bulldozer. I like to just stab it somewhere in the middle of the brake light, and I like to do about a 30% overlap. See, so like you can kind of see, I'm not gonna stick the whole thing right here. I'm gonna go like right here. So I'm pushing about 30% of what I just pushed. And then when I get done with that, I'm gonna come around the back. Was that on the inside? Oh no. Oh no. All right. How in the world we ended up with a piece of contamination that big? I don't know. Let's see what it is. It looks like a hair. Definitely a hair. What kind of hair? Ah, looks like it might be something off that deck lid. So we're gonna take a piece of house wrap tape. This is something you don't want to waste a whole bunch of time on. You've already started pushing this film out. You need to come back in here and get a hold of it as quickly as possible. Let's grab a tri-edge and a shank just to be safe. I don't know. we have to. That's what we'll do right there. Get the side. Where is it? I can't see it. So that's kind of frustrating. I can't, there it is. So right here at my fingertip is where this little hair thing is. I'm gonna take this house wrap tape. I'm not gonna wet anything down. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna slide this in. I'm gonna tap the film right there. And I don't know if you can see it, but right there where my thumb is where that little bit of junk is. Now, this is why I bought a keg. I can blast a lot of moisture up through here, a lot of pressure. I filled this up with 96 PSI today. Okay, and I can lay my film right there. Now I'm gonna start pushing my film kind of slowly this time because we just released it. But now we're gonna push out the corner. Instead of just going straight to the side, we're gonna kind of try to push down and out to the point where we need our bulldozer again. Okay, look at that. Nothing, because it's on this tape. Now you can use masking tape. You can use pretty much any other tape. I prefer the house wrap tape because it's waterproof, and because it's waterproof, it doesn't break down in your fingers like cheap masking tape will. You know, if you get masking tape wet, it usually wants to fall apart, and that sucks. So, anyway, what I was saying is I like to go all the way across the window, and then I like to go all the way back across the window. That should be sufficient. Take my towel here. I just want to dry the top edge. Just kind of gently do one of these deals. Get my deck lid, you know, third brake light and all that stuff. If you have a plastic deck lid, I like to wipe it down too. All right, let's see what we got on the outside. Pick up this liner so we don't trip on it and die. And normally, I wouldn't do this right now. I would wait until the very end because it's, let's face it, it's gonna get overspray on it from doing these other windows. But just for the sake of the video, I'll show you how to do this. So a lot of times when you pull the film back like I just did, you actually introduce more contamination than what you were trying to get out. I wouldn't do that for a speck of dust, but like a hair, for sure. If at all possible, I would do that trick. I'm glad that it was on a corner instead of like dead middle of the window where you have to expose a lot of film. But get this all nice and dry. Now look at this. It was right around in here is where we had it. I'll get you guys in real nice and close. Okay, nothing. There's nothing there. We successfully pulled it back. We didn't touch anything else with it. We tapped the tape on there and pulled that right out. The only defect we have is right here. We got a little bit of a crease. Now we have two choices. If I wasn't making a video, I would just leave this, let it dry. No big deal. Come back in 10-15 minutes. Or even better, once you get the rest of the car done, tap it with a chiseler or a hard card or pretty much anything, and it'll go right down. But we're doing a video, trying to do it for the people, and the battery is running dead. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna heat up the glass here. Notice how I'm doing circles. I'm not heating up any one particular area too much. I'm gonna get that pretty hot. Now I'm gonna come up in here. I'm just gonna kind of kiss it. Just kind of kiss it with the, you know what I mean? Just a little bit. I'm just gonna take my chiseler, push it right out. You see I had a little bit of moisture along this edge anyway. There's still a little bit of moisture in this film. Now I don't wanna go to town, you know, dragging the chiseler across there and all that deal, because you can scratch the film. I'm just gonna work right on this edge. And what you can do is you can actually touch up the film too much and end up scratching it and all that stuff. But look, it's gone. That little crease mark's gone. Now what I would do if I were you is I would keep an eye on this as you do the rest of the vehicle, because sometimes you can fix a spot like that. Got a little bubble trying to pop up there, just a little bit of moisture. You can take the time and fix something like that, and then as it cools, it'll do whatever it's gonna do, and it might pop up again. So don't just let this car go like that. What you wanna do is come back and check on it before it's all done. With that being said, you should be doing that anyway with every car. You should be double checking every window, looking at it from multiple different angles, all that stuff. I like to just come back through here and push out these dot matrix one time. But there you guys have it. There's a Chevy Cruze back window. It's basically the same for every year. I haven't found one that was really any more difficult than the other. That being said, I'm gonna switch batteries and switch over to doing the rest of the roll-ups. So thanks guys. Appreciate every view, every subscribe, every like, every comment. If you have any comments about anything. What's up everybody, Doug Lane, Fast Lane Car Care. Hey, I just wanted to bring you back. I got the Chevy Cruze all done, got it sitting outside baking in the sun. Customers on their way, so I want to do a quick walk around real quick. I'll put this at the end of the video where we did the back window on film and on camera, whatever you want to call it. But here you go, here's the finished product. 20% Helios Nova carbon all the way around. I mean, really turned out very, very well, especially for being a 2012 with felt seals. You know, a lot of times you get a bunch of contamination in the edges. We got the windshield strip on there as well. The only thing this thing needs is a car wash and she will be looking good. There you guys go. That's all I got for you. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for all the likes and the shares and comments and all that stuff. Really appreciate it. Means a lot to me. Thank you.